Assalamu alaikum. This is lecture 35 of Advanced Cost and Management Accounting. Balance scorecard. We have been discussing the concept and the idea behind the balance scorecard. The balance scorecard is a way of measuring performance, measuring the performance of an organization, and we measure the performance of the organization in several different aspects so as to cover virtually the whole organization. And we talked about the various aspects that we cover, and this is all a part of strategic cost management. So when you are managing the organization from a strategic perspective, and remember what we said about strategic perspective, strategy, this involves the longer term and it involves various aspects of the organization. We said that the balance scorecard has covered 4 basic perspectives. We talked about the financial perspective, the customer perspective, the internal process perspective, and the learning and growth perspective. Now we have said that we are trying to measure the performance of the organization in each of these perspectives. So we have to assess and we have to try to establish what will be the criteria for this measurement, what will be the objectives, and how will we measure them. And in this regard, we have in previous lectures covered the financial perspective, where we said that traditionally businesses have regarded the financial perspective as the traditional basis for performance measurement. Most performance was looked at from a financial perspective. What is the profit? What is the sales? What are the assets? These are all financial perspective items, and businesses have so far concentrated on the financial perspective. So this balance scorecard is now giving us a perspective on the other and non-financial aspects of the organization. So we discussed the customer perspective, and we said what would be the objectives in the customer perspective. And then we discussed how to measure. What will be the measure? How will we measure the objectives have been met or not? And we said we can set targets, and of course there is the concept of having initiatives, setting programs, doing all kinds of other activity which will direct the organization towards achieving the goals and objectives in each of the different perspectives. Today we are going to look at the way in which the internal process perspective is to be measured. What are the objectives and how it can be measured? Don't forget, we said internal processes are those processes where the company should, or the organization and the entity should, concentrate and focus on the things that it does. What is the internal process? Internal process is all the things that the company does in order to be able to produce products which are of value, and they are distinguished in the market, and they can be attractive, and all those other things that the company does, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, every operation that the company undertakes in order to deliver a product or service. Internal business perspective. Creating satisfied and loyal customers only translates into achieving financial objectives by ensuring that the key internal business processes are effective and efficient. So we have started by saying that if you look at the 2 perspectives that we talked of, the customer perspective and the financial perspective, we said we should have satisfied customers, and that the satisfied customers are likely to provide us with greater sales revenue and therefore enhanced financial objectives. Now we're saying that these things can only be accomplished if we ensure that our internal business perspective, internal processes are effective and efficient. What we are doing, whatever we are providing, is it a service? Is it a good? What we provide to the customers, is that done in an excellent and efficient manner? The internal business process measures should focus on the internal processes that are required to achieve the organization's customer and financial objectives. So this is what we are saying, that these internal processes should in turn be focused on how to ensure that customers will be satisfied and how to ensure the financial objectives will be met. And financial objectives, we have said, are the traditional financial objectives, the profit targets, the sales targets, the revenue targets, cost reduction. All those are financial objectives, and those should be met. And we are saying the processes should be focused. And in the first place, we said that in order to achieve the other objectives, we need effective internal processes. So internal processes need to be efficient and focused in obtaining and achieving the objectives of the customer satisfaction and the financial objective. Three principal internal processes are innovation processes, operation processes, post-sales service processes. We are going to talk about what are the different internal processes first of all. By internal processes, what can we refer to? And one thing, and the first thing we refer to is innovation. Innovation process. What is innovation? Innovation is not necessarily a great new invention that happens once or twice in a century or 10 or 20 years. The companies are in a process of innovating their products and processes on a regular basis. They are producing new goods, they are producing new materials, new designs, and we can refer to the various different kinds of industries, for example, in the food industry, where the food industry, they are producing different packages, introducing new flavors, introducing new combinations, and cheese, for example, if you look at, then cheese can be of different types, and it can be paste, and it can be cream cheese, and it can be hard and cheddar cheese. And so all these are different variations, and organizations are at all times involved in trying to produce new products. So the sliced cheese, for example, if we talk about cheese, the sliced cheese where each single slice is wrapped individually, this is a new product. If you think of juices, fruit juices, then there are different new flavors that come in, which weren't before. Combination of several fruits or one single fruit. And so this is a new innovated product. And I said not only products, we can refer to packaging. The different materials that are used for packaging, the different sizes that you can see these days in the supermarkets, very colorful and very nicely designed bottles and packages of different items that can include fruit juices, or you can think of the shampoos and things like that in the supermarkets. So there is a process of innovation that is continually organizations are exercising to improve the products that they are producing. If we look at the electronics industry, there the innovation process is very fast, and you will be aware that a new design of a cell phone appears every few weeks, and a new design of a computer or a laptop, or the new speed, added functionality. This is all innovation. So innovation is something which is creating significant improvements into the products. And everyone can be witness to this in the marketplace as you go along. So innovation process is the first internal process that we have identified that organizations should be focused on. So they are going to look at three things. First, innovation. Secondly, operation processes. Now, what is an operation process? We are talking about the entire thing being an internal business process. So in the internal business process, the operation is whatever the organization is doing, buying and selling and performing. If we take the example of an airline, the operation process of the airline for any one particular location will be its flight operations. Aircraft come in and land at airports. Passengers disembark, come off into the airport and onto their own destinations. And at the same time, there is an activity of departures, passengers arriving at the airports, getting into the departure lounges, then boarding the aircraft and the aircraft taking off. So these are flight operations in an airline. This would be an operation process for an airline. Of course, we can think of different operations of different types of services or products, where we think of operation of a hospital. Over there, patients will be coming in and they will be treated in different various clinics or other services such as X-ray departments and tests and radiology and surgery and everything. So these are all the operations of a hospital. We talked about the operations of an airline. Those are all operations that the organization is conducted. Therefore, we are going to look at the operations processes. So in the internal business perspective, we said we'll look at innovation, and then we will look at the operation processes, and then we are going to look at the post-sales services. A post-sales service is when you buy a product and the supplier or the seller fills out a warranty card, and the card shows the description and the unique number of the product and the date of purchase. And usually there is a warranty on many products, especially true of the electronic products. If you go and buy fridges, or if you go and buy deep freezers, things like that, then there is a warranty period. So that in that warranty period, the supplier or the manufacturer is responsible for any defects, any bad performance, going out of use of the product. So defective products can be then returned to the supplier, and under the warranty arrangements, the supplier is going to either replace the product, or they are going to repair and make the product perfectly usable once again and return to customers. So customers will then go away with the product that is working well. So this is the post-sales service process. After having sold, then you have to provide a service, either of repair or of return and replacement. So these are the three different, you can say, three different processes that we are going to examine under the internal business process. Which are the three? The three are, first of all, innovation, secondly, the operation, and thirdly, the post-sales. These three different aspects we are going to examine individually. Innovation processes. In innovation processes, managers research the need of customers and then create the products or services that will meet those needs. So we have been saying that innovation is something which the organization is doing on an ongoing basis. Organizations are continually involved in improving their products, bringing out new products, and trying to attract greater section and segments of the market. So innovation is something that is ongoing and keeps the organization alert, and many organizations nowadays regard innovation and research and development as perhaps the most important part of their value chain. The most significant thing to do is to research and develop and bring out new innovative products. So we have said in the slide that managers are continually trying to assess the need of the market. They are trying to assess the preferences of the consumers. And this is done very often through market surveys and market information obtained from sellers and shopkeepers and so forth. So the organization needs to be aware of the preferences of the customers and their likes and dislikes so that they can incorporate these functions into their products, and they can then come up with and provide the products which are according to customer requirements. This is a part of customer satisfaction and so forth. So innovation needs to be attuned with and aligned with the need of the customer. So this is something which is a little proactive on the part of the managers and the organizations, that they have to assess the need, develop the product, and bring it out into the market. The objectives of innovation process include increasing the number of new products, decreasing the time to develop new products, identifying new markets and customers. Innovation process, therefore, we have set out the 3 objectives. And we said one is to increase the number of products that are available. So innovation necessarily requires that the organization, the business organization, should produce newer versions and new products and new packages, continually attract the consumer and to compete in the global market currently. So the first thing is to increase the number of new products. So as we said earlier on, that innovation is not something that happens once in a few years. This is something that organizations are now in the process of doing on a regular basis, increasing the number of new products. The second objective is to decrease the time taken to produce the new products, decrease the time taken to develop the new products. So faster and faster. This is how competitive the global environment, business environment has become, that organizations need to be fast and ahead, and they need to think ahead of their competitors and to produce first the products that they are developing. So to reduce the time to develop new products means you do work faster, you innovate faster, and you have a greater number of products to serve the consumer. And thirdly, we said that they are going to identify new markets and new customers. There is a tendency to try to go beyond and for growth and for continual business success. Organizations will like to reach out to newer segments of the market. I'll give you an example that, say, in the beverage industry, cold beverages, the major season for cold beverages is the summertime, when the heat is there, and in the hot sun, people traveling, they want a cold beverage, a cold, good tasting beverage wherever they can, whether they are in the markets, whether they are outside walking, or whether they are traveling, or their own in their business places. So there is a greater need for a refreshing cold beverage in the summertime. Then it was for the beverage companies to think how to extend this sale into the other seasons, the not so hot weather. So try to extend their busy season here at the start of the hot season, and then at the end extend that from that side. So now they are looking for new, you can say, expanding their customer horizon. And they are now trying to influence the customers to consume their product beyond just the very hot season. And one way in which that has been accomplished is to relate that to eating and dining out. So dining out is something that occurs throughout the year. And now if you can convince that the diners should consume beverages with their meals, then that thing is going to go on and it will expand. So this is a new segment of the market now. Now you are targeting the people who dine out and they are eating out, and so they are consuming beverages there also. So they have expanded their, you can say, the reach and customer segment. Another thing which they have done is to have take-home type of packages, large, big packages, package size. So that big family pack can be taken home. So that has added another segment of the market where these things can be consumed at home. So this is an example of how organizations are looking for new segments and new markets. In the case of the mobile industry, you have seen that they have reached out into very large section of the population. And they have maintained that by keeping a low cost, especially a low entry cost. In other words, the cost of a new SIM. It has to be low for people to be attracted to it. So they have been able to expand their product and the use of their product to a large sector of the population, which was previously not using the telephone. A very large sector of the population is now using the mobile phone, which they were previously not using the telephone. So this is an expansion of new market and new customers. And so these are examples of how organizations set out to add new customers and add new markets. Companies are becoming increasingly aware that success in developing a continuous stream of innovative products, services, can provide a competitive advantage. The state of the global competition and global business environment is such that it has become necessary for companies to expand their markets and expand their customer base, and that they can do by developing new products. So innovation process we are basically talking about. That innovation process, the process of bringing out new products and new packages and new designs and new types of in food flavors and so forth. This has become a very significant part of business activity. Research and development has become a more important element in the value chain of most businesses. The way in which organizations are going to excel in their innovation, they are going to have to establish research departments, research and development departments within the organization. And that part organizations are now finding is an important part, and much more attention is now being given than previously to this part of the value chain. What is the value chain? We quickly remind ourselves, we have discussed this previously, that the value chain is from the start of the business operation where you receive goods into the factory, and then the design process and the research process, and that part takes place, and then the production process, and going on to the distribution and marketing process, and then finally the product lands in the hands of the consumer. So this is the entire value chain. Within this, the research and development, we are saying, has now become much more important than previously because of the global competition and the need to innovate and the need to bring out more effective, better lasting, and more attractive, all those kind of things with regard to your products and your services. Measures observed in organizations include percentage sales from new products introduction versus the competition or plan, and the number of key items in which company is number 1 or number 2. So once we have described the innovation processes and we have said that this is an important part of the overall internal business perspective, now we are saying how should we measure the innovation. And the way to measure innovation is, we have said that what is the percentage of sales from new products. So organizations will need to keep information of this sort available, and therefore their recording systems and management information systems will need to be sufficiently detailed to provide what is the revenue from existing products and what is the revenue from new products. So they need to be aware what is the revenue from new products and the percentage of the new products as a total part of the total of their revenue. So their, of course, focus and attention will be to increase the percentage of the new products within their total range of products. Second measure we said is that it's important to make the plan. It's important at the outset to have a detailed plan of what your revenue will be from various different products. And so sufficient market research should take place, sufficient detailed planning should take place, there should be adequate information and forecast. So the forecast is the plan. So at the planning stage, organizations should identify for the period, let's say, of the next 1 year, of what are the new products to be introduced and what is the level of sales expected from these new products. And therefore, to measure the success of the new product, you can then compare the actual sale versus the planned sale of new products. One thing, the planned sale, and the other thing is to see how competition is doing and how is the competition growing in terms of new products. So what is the percentage of sales of competition from the new products? So this is the kind of information that organizations try to acquire and be aware of, so that they can see where they are placed and whether they are placed satisfactorily or greater efforts need to be made. And another measure of new products and innovation process, we said, this is in how many of their products are they number 1 or number 2 in the market. So there should be several, especially for the leading organizations, there should be several products in which they should have a leading position or at least a number 2 position in the market. So if that is increasing in the number of products, then that's a sign of their innovation capability, their innovation processes effectiveness, and their ability to design new products. The operation processes. The operation process starts with the receipt of the customer order and finishes with the delivery of the product to the customer. So of the 3 processes we identified as part of the internal perspective, we said innovation, and secondly we said operation. Where does the operation start now? The operation starts with the receipt, we said, of the customer order. Starts with the receipt of the order. You acquire all the material required and the processes required, and you complete your products, and then you deliver those products to the customer. So this is the operation process. So we are now going to look at in detail the operation process, what should be the objectives, and how to measure these objectives. Objectives of operation process include decreasing process time, increasing process efficiency, improving product quality, and decreasing processing cost. Now we are going to look at the objectives which we are going to set ourselves for this process, the operations process. And we said that one objective is going to be to decrease the process time. This refers basically to the cycle time. And we have set the cycle time from start to the end of the operation. And how, we have talked about this earlier, how to go about decreasing this time is to eliminate waste. And one example was the just-in-time systems. When we introduce just-in-time systems, they eliminate a lot of the time unnecessary for activities which are not really adding value. So decreasing process time, this is one of the objectives of operation processes. Secondly, we said is to increase operation efficiency. Efficiency is a concept which is measured by saying that in the same amount of time or with the same resources, you are increasing your output. So the output has increased compared to, let's say, the previous period, but the resources that have been put in are the same. So with the same resources of labor, material, etc., with the same resources, when you are obtaining greater output, this is efficiency. So operating excellence requires that you increase operating efficiency. In other words, you obtain a greater output with the same resources. And then we said improving product quality. And I think we have referred to this on several occasions before, that quality has now become a key. Quality in the products, in the processes, in the services, that has now become a key due to the increase in competition. So it can nearly be said that from the increase in competition, the consumer is the one that stands to benefit the most. Because of added competition, they are bound to receive better value for their money, and they are bound to receive better quality of goods which they are getting. So the part of operating process, one part is to improve quality. In this highly competitive environment, if the quality of your product is not what you claim it to be, i.e. your standard, and secondly, not as good as competition, then you will find that very shortly people will switch to other products and you might be left stranded. So improving the quality is one major objective of the part of the operating process. We have said that in order to achieve excellence and in order to improve quality, it is not sufficient that just quality has been obtained, levels of quality have been achieved. At the same time, the cost needs to be managed. So if you incur a great amount of cost and achieve very high quality, which your competition, unfortunately, is achieving at a lesser cost, then your price won't match. In order to be profitable, you have to price yourself with a margin above your cost, and therefore your price will be too high compared to your competition, and consumers will opt out for the lesser costing item. So a reduction of cost is therefore one of the objectives of the operating excellence. So in your operating processes, we have said that you are going to try to decrease the time taken, you want to increase efficiency, you want to improve quality, and you want to reduce cost. These are the various objectives in achieving operating excellence. Performance and control measures have traditionally relied on financial measures such as standard cost, budgets, and variance analysis. This overemphasis sometimes motivated dysfunctional actions. For example, pursuit of efficiency encouraged maximum utilization of labor and machines, resulting in extensive inventories not related to current customer orders. Now, when we come to measuring the performance of your operations, traditionally we have said this has been one thing. You set budgets and you look at the financial perspective and you see whether budgets have been achieved or not. What is the variance? Try to do some analysis of variance and try to do some corrective action. So this is basically focused on the financial part. We are saying that just focusing on the financial part can sometimes give you dysfunctional result. Dysfunctional means that it is not in the overall interest of the organization. It might be good for the production department, but it might not be so good for the entire organization. And the way this has been explained is that in order to prove efficiency and in order to prove operating process excellence, it might be that the production department will produce goods at a faster rate and might end up with a size of inventory which does not coincide with the current customer sales order. You have to sell whatever you produce. So if you produce much more, that can be a good performance for the production department. Very efficient, very good. They have produced and with the same resources, they have given a greater production. But unless you can sell the entire production, then that production will be standing in inventory and sometimes being wasted. You might get losses, you might get obsolescence, you might get stocks that has deteriorated, and therefore it can't be sold because of aging and because of movement and all those reasons. So therefore this would be a dysfunctional result of a production department efficiency program. In other words, an overall perspective needs to be taken, and there needs to be coordination with all the other perspectives of the organization to ensure the overall objectivity and overall profitability of the organization. So therefore, measurement, which is traditional, we said was ineffective, and if we are only focused on one part and we are just trying to improve the excellence of one part, which is the production department, then it might be that the overall organization does not benefit from that efficiency. Companies have added measures of quality, reliability, delivery that provide value to customers as a result of global competitive environment. In this globally competitive environment, organizations have therefore had to focus on quality, focus on reliability of product. They've had to focus on delivery. Delivery means on-time delivery. Reliability of product means quality and reliability. And they have to, first of all, from their marketing perspective, declare the functionalities and quality of the product. And when the consumer is attracted based on their description of the product, then they expect that qualities and those functionalities to be met. So companies have to spend a lot of money to try to make sure qualities are in place every single time. So now the organizations are going to zero defect. You want to produce at a level where there is zero defect. In other words, all the goods that you produce are of the same high quality. And why not? It means that the staff should be highly trained. It means the processes should be well established. It means that the machines should be in good condition. and it means that everyone is aware what is to be done, and they are accordingly performing. So quality, reliability, and on-time delivery. Various other aspects, these are the demands in current business environment for consumer satisfaction. Otherwise, the consumer can look elsewhere and find competition. And as they say, competition never sleeps. So there's always some competitor trying to work on and improve the quality and improve their products and processes. And therefore, for you to maintain business growth and sustainability, you need to be alert and aware of this situation, and therefore have processes and controls so that you can have minimum defect, at least, if not zero defect, a minimum defect operation. Cycle time measures. Many customers place a high value on short and reliable lead time. This is measured by the time taken from placing an order until the time the desired product is received. So this is an important aspect of the operations process, the cycle time. And we have referred to the cycle time before, the start of the process, all the various different steps in between until you complete the process till the end. So the cycle time. Now, lead time is also sometimes, as it's called, the lead time. The lead time for a customer is the time when they send the sales order and the time when they receive the goods. So lead time has become more and more important, and customers give a high value to suppliers who can deliver on time. So this is a new aspect of operations and a new aspect of operational excellence that we are referring to, which also needs great care and great concentration and focus, so that this is meeting the other objectives of satisfying the customers and also of the financial objectives. So cycle time comes into play within the operations process. Traditionally, companies met this requirement by holding large inventories of many different products. This is not consistent with being low-cost producer. So we can say that gone are the days when companies could afford to keep large inventories of most of their different products and have large warehouses and withstand even the loss of obsolescence and deterioration. Obsolescence means if you have stored an item and it has a shelf life, and that life is reduced, and by the time the shelf life doesn't exist anymore, that product is obsolete and it is of no use and it has to be scrapped or discarded. So that is a loss to the organization. So in the good old days, as they are called, companies could afford to keep these large inventories. But now, because of the competition and trying to reduce the cost, this concept of having large inventories, you have to be aware that it ties up capital, it creates losses, and so all those aspects have to be reduced in trying to become more efficient and in trying to become more competitive. The price margins, the profit margins in prices are becoming slimmer because of competition, and you have to make your own operations very lean and slim and smart and efficient in order to have a good position compared to the competitors. Companies are adopting JIT systems to achieve both low cost and short lead time objectives. Just-in-time systems, we refer to these JIT systems, and this essentially is coming out of Japanese management philosophy, and it is a concept of trying to reduce waste and reduce extra cost and reduce activities on the floor which are unnecessary and don't add value. So in the case of inventories, the just-in-time system will require that the inventories are received at the time when they are required in the process and production. So they are received, unloaded from the trucks, and go straight into production. So there is no storage and handling and keeping them and warehousing and all that. So this is one example of the just-in-time system, how efficiencies are built into the system to reduce cost. Reducing cycle time is hence critical for JIT companies. So if they are going to reduce waste and they are going to reduce and eliminate all non-value added activity, then they are going to reduce their cycle time. And this kind of information will be shared with the suppliers, and this will be the state of the organization, that the supplier will be fully aware of the production schedule of this organization, so that they can tie in their own production with the production requirements, and there is inspection and quality checks, etc. at the supplier premises, so the product that is received is of good quality and received in time and goes straight into production and the goods are produced. So this also avoids the holding time, and therefore necessarily the cycle time is reduced, which of course is more efficient and reduces cost, makes the organization more competitive. Post-sales service process. The third thing we talked about in the internal business process was post-sales service. After innovation, operations, and the post-sales service. The final category relating to internal business process perspectives includes warranty and repairs, treatment of defects and returns, and the process and administration of customer payments. So after innovation and processes, operation processes, we talked about the post-sales service. In other words, what service needs to be given to the customer after you have made the sale. So after you have made the sale, the service that the customer needs is in case the product has defects or it develops defects and it can't be used. So you need to offer a repair service, you need to offer a replacement service. There is, I said, a warranty period in which the company is guaranteeing the performance of that product. And in case there is a defect, the company offers to, free of charge, correct any defect or replace the product entirely. So this is the post-sales service. So now this is another aspect of the internal business perspective. It has become very important. Customer needs the reliability. They need to know that if we take away this product, if it doesn't work, at least function for this warranty period, it is going to be either repaired or replaced free of cost. Because of competition again, the customer gets the benefit of this. And so this is another area where the internal business perspective requires that those organizations which are able to offer a good post-sale service, after-sale service, then their chances are that customers will rely more and they will be more attracted more towards consuming and buying those kind of products. Post-sales service performance can be measured by applying some of the time, quality, and cost measures that have been suggested for the operating processes. For example, cycle time to measure speed of response to failures, activity cost to measure cost of resources being used for the post-sale service. So post-sale service also has to be measured. This is one objective, to have a good post-sale service. And how do we measure that? And we've said that we can measure it by the cycle time of the post-sale service. In other words, the time the supplier gets information about a defect and the time it takes to make the correction, to correct the product and deliver it back to the customer so that he can start to use it again. This is the cycle time, and to reduce the cycle time and in order to excel in the post-sales service, this aspect has to be covered, and they have to minimize and offer a good post-sales service. That's all for this session. Thank you for listening.